Last year, I started the 75 Hard Challenge after what I call a moment of divine intervention. I was working out on the treadmill one morning, minding my business, and all of a sudden, I stopped the treadmill and I typed into my Instagram stories, "I will not recognize myself in 1 year." Now, I had no idea why I stopped the treadmill to type that. I don't know where that came from. But as I read what I had typed into my Instagram stories, I realized it wasn't talking about just a physical transformation. It wasn't talking about just me losing weight. I needed a whole person transformation. That was physical, that was mental, that was emotional, that was spiritual. And so 75 Hard was just a part of that entire journey. Now, I recorded snippets of my 75 Hard journey and I put them together in a series of videos. This last video that you're about to see is my reflections of 75 Hard after going to church on day 75 of the 75 Hard Challenge. I give you a little insight into how I recognized that that moment on the treadmill was indeed divine intervention. It is Sunday, August the 6th, and it is my day 75 of the 75 Hard Challenge. I've never really shared the story of how I came to start 75 Hard, and I didn't realize until church service today why I had to wait to share that story. So here goes. Back in late April of this year, I was on the treadmill doing a Peloton class, minding my business, focused on this class, and all of a sudden I stopped the treadmill and I typed into my Instagram stories, "I won't recognize myself in a year." Didn't know what it meant really, didn't know why I stopped the treadmill in that moment to type that. It wasn't something that was on my mind, but I typed it and I looked at it and I knew that it wasn't talking about a physical transformation. I felt like it was talking about something more, me as a person. I wasn't going to recognize myself, me as a whole person next year. And so while I didn't know what prompted me to stop and type that, I believed it. I was like, okay, let's do this. And so I started taking action. I hooked up with a local therapist and started therapy twice a week. I looked for a new church home and found a new church home. I just wasn't being spiritually fed at the church that I was at, and I didn't really want to go. And so I took action to find a new church home. And then I took control of my health. I set up an appointment with a physician to have my sleeve checked. I've been struggling with acid reflux for some years now and didn't want to go see the doctor because the way they fix acid reflux in sleeve patients is they make you do a revision surgery, and I didn't want to do another surgery. So I faced my health head on by scheduling that appointment to have that conversation with my doctor about my acid reflux issues. And so I saw my doctor on a Tuesday at the end of May. It was May 23rd. And she basically told me you have two options as it relates to your issues with acid reflux. She says you can lose weight or you can have the revision and lose weight. But at the end of this day, you're going to have to lose weight in order to get your acid reflux under control. And so that was a Tuesday. The very next day, Wednesday, May 24th, I started the 75 Hard Challenge. That was my day one. I didn't wait for a Monday. I didn't wait for, work travel to be over. I knew I had vacation coming up. I didn't wait for that. I decided the very next day to start the 75 Hard Challenge. And the significance of that full circle is that because I started that Wednesday, my day 75 was today, my challenge ended on a Sunday. I say that I don't know why I stopped that day on the treadmill and typed into Instagram stories what I did. I was listening to a sermon by Sarah Jakes Roberts, and she said that sometimes God will cause a disruption, and you don't know, when it's coming. Sometimes you don't even recognize it, but it's a shift. And she said it, and it just made perfect sense to me that moment when I stopped the treadmill and I typed that into my Instagram stories, that God was talking to me. And I listened and I believed it, and then I took action. Full circle, my day 75, the last day of the challenge, ended today on a Sunday. My son and I went to church. My husband's on work travel. So my son and I went to church together. We had a guest speaker. We had a guest pastor today. And the pastor talked about being between a rock and a hard place, having nowhere to go, and being successful, coming out on the other side of that only by the will of God. And he also talked about, being still doesn't mean not taking action. You have to take some sort of action. Faith without works is dead. So you can have all the faith that you want. You can wait on God all you want. You have to take an action in order to get to the place where God is trying to get you to go. He also talked about, having that faith and taking that action when you don't have anywhere to go, when your back is up against the wall, and having the endurance to see the race to the end. And I realized today in that service that was God talking to me that day I stopped the treadmill. It was significant that I started the 75 Hard Challenge on a Wednesday. It was significant that my 75 Hard Challenge ended on a Sunday with that message. There was so much in my 75 Hard journey that I went through and that I had to overcome. And so my 75 Hard journey was never about a physical transformation. Anyone who's been following me throughout this journey knows I never set a weight loss goal. My only goal for 75 Hard was to finish. And I approached every single day with, I don't care what is going on, I am going to finish this challenge. And every day I face obstacles to finishing the challenge. I had a physical obstacle in that I have a sleeve. My stomach is just not as large as it used to be, even though I'm 9 years post-op. And so drinking a gallon of water per day, sometimes I had to choose between eating and drinking water. And those were some of the sacrifices that I had to make in order to get to the end of the challenge. I have, walked in the rain. I've walked in a downpour thunderstorm. I have done aerobics on my back deck at 4 a.m. I have walked in the airport terminal. I have walked around the hotel parking lot every morning for 5 days because it wasn't safe for me to walk anywhere else when I was on work travel. I have walked in 2 amusement parks while we were on vacation. I've been up 9, 10, 11 o'clock at night just chugging down water, trying to get that 1 gallon of water in. Couldn't go to bed until I got it in. Sometimes I was going to bed at 11:30 at night and then having to get up at 4:30 the next morning for work. The journey has been a journey. It has been a challenge from day 1 to day 75. And full circle moment was today in the church service when I realized that it was nothing but God. It was nothing but God that started me on the journey. It was nothing but God that's gotten me through the 75 Hard Challenge and this journey. All of the work that I put in thus far, taking that action and having the faith, that is what it takes. It's that endurance. It's, that the challenge is all about mental toughness. That's what they tout, mental toughness. And I will tell you that I have absolutely gotten mental toughness out of this challenge, but most importantly, I have seen faith in action. I have seen what happens when you just believe and then you take a step, not being still and waiting on something, but being still, listening, and taking an action. So that is my story of how I came to follow 75 Hard. It was absolutely a gift from God. Is absolutely the transformation that I absolutely needed. It was the one that I wanted. It was the one that I was looking for. And I'm so glad that I took that first step. I'm so glad that instead of dismissing that moment on the treadmill, I believed enough and have faith enough to believe it to come to pass and then to take action in order to make it happen. So hopefully this message will inspire someone to just start. Doesn't have to be 75 hard. But whatever the journey is that you know that you need to go on, just start. Don't wait for Monday. Don't wait for vacation to be over. Don't wait for the birthday to be coming up. Just start. Have a good Sunday.